this is Selena and welcome. In this video, I will show you how to partially die cut and stamp images using the MISTI stamping tool. So first I'm using paper source, little note cards. Those are 3.5 by 5, I believe. I was just measuring the front to see how wide I want to cut my cardstock. So it was like 3.5 wide, and I believe it's like 5 inches tall. So I'm using different colors because here with my daughter, we decided that, she decided she wanted to give cards to her friends at her pre-K class. So there are like 22 kids in her class. So I made about 30 cards of those. For some I use the paper source note cards, and for some I use the pre-printed lawn phone note cards. So here I'm just marking a line where I want that partial die cutting to kind of come across. So that's when I run it through my die cutting machine, I will put the top plate along that line so it doesn't cut completely, it just cuts the top part and stops at that line. So I'm using the T-ruler and a pencil to mark. It was about 1 inch from the top, but you can do however you want to cut from the top. So I'm using this stamp set from, I think it's called Lunchbox Notes from Hero Arts. So I'm just positioning everything. And here I'm using the grid transparency. I downloaded it from my Sweet Petunia website and then just printed it on my laser printer onto some laser transparencies. Again, I apologize for my sniffling and for my voice. I currently have a cold, so I'm trying to, it just started this morning, so hopefully it will go away quickly. So I'm just deciding which little bugs I want to use. So I'm trying to position them where I want them to be. And that way I'll pick them with the MISTI and have this a little template kind of to go along to have all of them at a certain position onto my front panel. So I'm getting a bunch of those around. I use 5, and for each one I use different color to kind of go along with the note cards that I'm using, so it kind of matches those colors of the note cards. So as I was saying, my daughter wanted to be kind and do some act of kindness for her friends. So as well on the back, you will see towards the end of the video, we stamped a stamp from Sweet Pea Designs called Kindness Matters, and as well on the envelopes we stamped Kindness is Magic. I believe in the magic of kindness, actually. So I positioned all of those, and now I'm gonna pick them up with the lid of the MISTI. And I have there my little kind of template. So I'm just inking it up, and I'm gonna stamp directly. Well, first I'm stamping on that positioning sheet to see how it goes, like if overlaps with the sentiment or not. So now we are ready, and I'm gonna stamp that onto my paper. So I don't care how it's stamped here as long as it's visible or legible. And now I'm positioning the dies that will be partially die cut under the images that will be partially die cut. So I'm just making sure those are positioned nicely. And next, what I'll do, we have those 3 on the top, on the bottom we're not cutting anything. I'll take some Glad Press and Seal and apply it on top. And this picks up all the dies and kind of connects them together. And when I cut all the panels that I already pre-cut, I'll be able this way to cut all 3 at once. So I'm just applying some of the powder tool around it so it's not as sticky. And then I'll trim it around so I don't have that much of the press and seal hanging around, so it's like a smaller piece. Just making sure that it's not very sticky around before I go and start die cutting my panels. Again, I apologize for my sniffling and for my voice. So I cut everything out, and now I can just position it onto my panel, and this is already marked at 1 inch from the top. So I have my magnetic panel, I have one cutting plate, and then I'm positioning the top cutting plate along that line, just covering the top. So next I saw that it's not really cut to the line, and I went back and I run it through my die cutting machine again. Next, I'm going with a craft knife. I'm using my pen blade, and probably should use a ruler. That's what I used when I did the rest. It was easier to follow the lines than going freehand. I'm always afraid if I'm going freehand that I'll mess it up. So here you have the partial die cutting on the top, and next what I'm doing is just erasing those pencil lines. So there we have that, and it fits perfectly onto my note card. Next, what I'll do is go back in the MISTI, and I'm gonna start stamping the images. So I stamp that little bug, and then I have the negative from that die cut panel, and I'm gonna position it on top of that die cut, kind of center it, and then I'm cleaning my stamp because I'm not using black ink for this little bug. So I'm positioning, kind of sliding that one in and securing it with the magnets. So I'm using lime green for Hero Art Shadow ink for this one. I'm gonna go ahead and stamp all of them. So I have a bunch of those there. I'm going back again and repeating the same process. So you'll notice later in the video, because I had to remove this and reposition, I decided to go with some microspore tape and tape that negative there, so I don't need to move a magnet all the time. So there we have those, and I'm just stamping, and it's so easy to mass produce using the MISTI. Like every time it comes out perfectly positioned and perfectly centered. And even sometimes on the first ones, I decided to stamp twice, so it didn't look like a cloudy image, but it was nice and sharp one. So next I'm going with the second one, and that's the butterfly. Again, I'm gonna stamp with now I switched to cardstock instead of that the paper from the notepad, the grid pad from the MISTI, because it was a little bit sturdier, and here I'm adhering that with the microspore tape. So make sure that it's positioned nicely, and then I'm gonna start stamping. So this will go a little bit faster than before. So there's that butterfly, and here I'm using a royal red, I believe. I can't remember which color I used. So next, I kind of cut it short here. I stamped all of them, but you don't need to be bored with watching me stamp 20 images. So next I'm going to the little bee, and I'll be using one of the Kelly Perky little ink cubes. So again, I'm positioning that, and I secure it with the microspore tape. So there is that one, and then I'm gonna start stamping those. You can see how easy it is to do partial die cutting and stamping onto the partial die cuts using the MISTI, and as well some of the Glad press and seal. So next I'm moving on the other bug, and here there's no more partial die cutting, it's just mass producing. So I'm just looking, I'm using the sea glass. That's one of the color layering ink cubes. It's just available in that, it's not available as a full ink pad, just available in that set of ink cubes. So, and I'm stamping it a couple times here, going back again, stamping that little cute bug, and then the last one, I'll be using Capo Joe ink for that one. Kind of matches with the craft ink note card. So I'm gonna keep stamping those. And lastly, we'll have just the sentiment. So that's all done. Next, I have my sentiment here. I'm trying to position it on top and make sure that it's straight. So I'm cleaning my previous stamp that was already on the MISTI. And I pick up that one. Okay, I stamp it on top here. Make sure that everything looks fine. And I'm using the Hero Arts Intense Black ink for the sentiment. And then I keep repeating the process on all of the panels. Next, I'm gonna stamp this leaf image. I forget the name of this stamp set, but I'm gonna stamp onto the front of my note cards. So I'm going first with green, and I'm gonna be using the lime green ink pad. So see how it looks nice. So first I stamped on the grid paper to make sure that it's straight. So next I can just line the top and the sides of my note card with the lines on the bottom, the base of the MISTI. I removed the film or the mouse pad because I'm using the foam mounted, cling mounted stamp. So next I'm using the Pool Mid-Tone Shadow ink to stamp onto the green. So this is a little bit darker, but it gives a nice effect. And I'm stamping all of the blue ones. So next I'll be stamping the craft ones using the Capo Joe ink pad. And as this shadow inks dry, they become lighter, so it's more subtle effect after you're done with the cards and wait for maybe an hour or two, because that ink really sinks into the cardstock, like absorbs in the cardstock and lightens up as it dries. So we have the craft ones. And then I'm using red. And I'm not showing here how I put together the ones that were on two Lawn Fawn note cards, because they're already stamped. I just adhered the little panel onto them and then I just stamped on the back. So we have all those are stamped, and now we'll go into assembling them. So I'll be using some Tombow mono adhesive, well, the Tombow tape, to adhere those panels onto my note cards. So I'm kind of lining my card in the edge of the MISTI, so I can align perfectly that little panel and then trim the end if it's a little bit longer than my note card. So I'm just repeating the process for every single one and doing the same thing. So they're all a little bit longer than my note cards. That's why I'm trimming the edges. We have one more here. So next, I'm just turning my note cards in the back and I'm stamping that Kindness Matters stamp. So it's at the same position on every single card because I'm using the MISTI. It's kind of easier than using just acrylic block. And next, not showing you this video, is the step where I'm stamping the envelopes, saying I believe in the kindness of magic, in the magic of kindness. So we have all the cards here, and thanks for watching. Come back soon for another video. Bye!